Hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will learn how to use the solver function to analyze and allocate the time spent on a project between two cost centers, cost center 1 and cost center 2. And as you can see clearly, I have determined the allocation percentage. That is 40% to be allocated to cost center 1 and 60% to be allocated to cost center 2, right? And in this has then transcribed to from the total hours charged on the project or spent on the project of 2,339, 935 hours will be allocated to cost center 1, while 1,403 hours will be allocated to cost center 2. And to help me do this, I'll be using a binary separation, which is the 0 and 1, in my solver spread tab to determine which goes to cost center 1 and which goes to cost center 2. Right, so the pivot and the graph we're seeing here is just a pictorial view of the hours spent based on the grade level on the project, right? You can see. So I've created an extra tab called Solver, then determined or brought forward from the time report tab the staff name, time period, grade level, hours, and I've added two extra columns called the multiplier and the product. Multiplier is where I bring in my binary code, but in the meantime, I'll be using just one, and I'll apply it to all of the individuals on the project. Then the product is simply the multiplication of the hours times the multiplier. Okay, so back to the very top, the ones represent, like we saw in the time report tab, cost center 2, right? So I've entered 1 to represent cost center 2, and if the multiplier changes to 0, that represents cost center 1. So our target for cost center 2, as per the time report tab, which we've done the allocation, is 1,403, is being brought in here as a target. Then the sum of the product is the, as the name implies, sum of the product column. And the difference is the target less the product, right? So we have 935 hours to adjust. But how do we do that? That will be very cumbersome if you are to go through the manual route of carefully selecting individual hours that makes up the target, right? But with the help of the solver, it takes you just few minutes, if not less, to determine which of these individual hours gives you the targeted hour for the cost center. All right. So to do that, you go to your data ribbon or a menu, and at the far right, you will see the analysis tab, and then you have the solver. I've already done a video on how to bring on the solver on your spreadsheet. Please do well to listen to that video, like and share your comments. So we'll be using this solver to analyze this difference of 935 hours to allocate to project 2. So to do that, I'll click on the solver now. Right, I would then, on the difference tab, I would select the difference, which should be K, K3, then changing which cell, the cells to change is column E, which is the multiplier. Come back, then let me delete this for now and bring that back in, So I've entered which cell to change, then I'll click on the add to allocate it as a binary number. Go back and select the multiplier as well. Then I come to the next option to select bin, which stands for binary, and brings that out, and I'll click OK. So it takes us back here. So just to quickly explain what this means is that you're setting an objective, which is the difference, and you're turning this objective to 0, which means that the sum of the product adjusting the multiplier should give you back the target by assigning 1 and 0. 1 means should be included in cost center 2, and 0 means it remains part of cost center 1. All right? So once you've done this, selecting the difference, the value of setting the difference to 0, as close to 0 as possible, then changing the variable cells, which is the multiplier column, column E, from start to finish, and then insert the constraints to be zeros and 1. All right, then you come to your solve, select a solving method and change it as, select it as evolutionary and click on solve. So usually it takes a little while to get the solver done, and the solver then allocates between zeros and 1 on the spreadsheet, right? So it gives you this solver result to show you that the solver is complete. Then all you need to do at this point is to click on OK, and you can see your solver on the multiplier column. It has assigned those that should be included as part of cost center 1 as zeros, and the one for cost center 2 as 1. All right. So if you then go through your target of 1,403, you see that solver has helped us to identify 1,404 with a slight difference of 0.92, which is kind of insignificant. All right, significant. Yep, I think that's correct. So this is the closest that we can get in terms of the allocation for individual hours for each of the project cost centers. And based on this, we can then come in here, add more columns, and say multiplier, right? Then just use your normal equals to solver, then bring in the multipliers. So I can turn this to zeros and 1. So add more column, call this cost center 1, 1, and cost center 2. All right. So if I can use then the if function to bring in cost center 1 and 2, if the E3, which is under the multiplier, is equals to 0, right? I'll bring in cost center 1 or cost center 2. Okay. Or probably instead of adding 2 columns, I can just take this one out since I'm using the if function, and then replace this with cost center. Then for the ones that have zeros are cost center 1, and the ones that have ones are cost center 2. And I can then use this to plot a graph to see the time spent per cost center 1 and cost center 2, and see if that ties back to our initial allocation. So I use the pivots to do this furthermore. Insert pivots. I think that should come in here. Existing worksheets. Okay. And bring in the cost center, bring in the hours spent. Yep. You can see this ties back to 1,404 hours charged to cost center 2 and 934 hours or 35 hours charged to cost center 1. And I can put this in a little graph. Come to insert recommended graph. I can use, say, yeah, let me use the pie chart to represent this. Okay, and I have it here. All right. So you can see how easy we've been able to use the solver function on Microsoft Excel to help us and make sense of this analysis. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed every bit of it, kindly give it a thumbs up. If you're a new subscriber, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you in my next video. Bye.